Hejsa. It's time for the next panel or section in the summer slow stitching project. So here's what I made last time. I'll just remove this thread so you can see it. So I think my original plan was to write all these words in one color and stitch it in one color, but then I thought, no, I'll use a few different colors just to brighten it up a little bit. And I really like how it turned out. I like how the words sort of blend together, especially this bit where they get broken up and go on different lines. So I thought that's quite fun. It feels very different to the other three, but that's okay. So the next prompt is places, and I've made my little mind map already. So most of the places are not sort of specific places like a city or whatever. So let's start over here. Road trips, that's not really a specific place, but maybe it's a mental place, I don't know. And we have woods and walks in the wood, beach, hiding in the dunes, making sand castles, Vesterhavet means the Western Sea. It's on the west coast of Jutland in Denmark. I really love that place. It is so beautiful. Even on a stormy day, the sea there is just amazing. I haven't been there in a long time, so I hope in the next couple of years I can get back there. And at Vesterhavet you can be lucky enough to find amber, especially after a storm. Alright, let's see. Then we have summer house or summer cabin. Lots of people have summer houses in Denmark. Some of them are basically like a regular house, but some of them are just like a cabin in the woods, and somewhere in between. Lazy mornings. And in a summer house you will often find mismatched crockery or utensils, which is one of the charms, I guess, of being there. Can also be kind of boring in a summer house. There's less to do than you would have at home, but that can also be very relaxing. Right, and then we have a caravan or tent. I spent a lot of my childhood going on camping holidays in my parents' caravan. Not always willingly, because it was kind of boring at times. And I've got listen to the rain on the caravan or the tent. And in a caravan, or especially a tent, you only have the bare necessities. Alright, so now I get to some places that are more sort of specific, like Germany, where we went on holiday quite a lot when I was a child. And we went to a few times to a place called, in Danish it's called Harzen. In German it might just be Harz. Not sure. I haven't looked it up, so. And then I've got Germany. There's lots of castles. And also mountains. And then we have Denmark. Visiting grandparents when I was little. Sadly they're no longer with us. And I have mormor's rødgrød here. And rødgrød it's a bit difficult to explain what it is, but it's basically like very runny jelly. Somewhere in between I don't know, fruit soup and a jelly, which you would make from raspberries and strawberries from my granddad's allotment garden. And she was the only one who could make it properly. So it's always very special to go and visit them and have that in the summer. And also visiting my grandparents, we would make tents in the garden. And Denmark, so this is more recent times visiting my parents. Because obviously I used to live in Denmark, but now I go there on visits and holidays. And I've also got sightseeing, but that could be lots of places. But I do remember when I was little and we would go lots of sightseeing trips around the country, seeing various castles and museums and whatnot. Right, and then we have Italy, a place I've been several times. And I especially remember one time, I'm not sure how old I was, but maybe around 10, 12 years old. And we were staying in this hotel and we were playing by the pool all day, it seemed, with some other kids that were also at that hotel. It's funny what you suddenly remember. And then I have the last thing is Rome in August. I love Rome, but the one time I went there in Rome in August is the last time I will ever go there in August. And this was about 25 years ago, and it was so hot. At the end of the day, our clothes had lines of salt because we had been sweating so much. I dread to think how the temperatures are in Rome in August these days, with rising temperatures all around the world. Thankfully, in Rome, you can't walk many steps before you come across a church. So we went into a lot of churches to try and cool down, because they were a lot cooler than outside. Alright. So now I'm gonna try and get some inspiration from this for this panel here. So I've written down my 5 senses and tried to combine them with some things from my mind map. So I have sea, castles and ruins. I couldn't really think of anything other than that. And here, the sound of rain on a tent, or the crunch of pine needles in the forest. Smell, salty sea air. Taste, again, Momo's Rutger. Or, this may seem weird, but the taste of amber. Or rather, it's not the taste of amber, because it doesn't really taste of anything. But the best way to check if a lump of stone or potentially amber, whether it's one or the other, is to bite it. If it's slightly soft to the touch or to the bite, then it's probably amber. If it's hard, it's not. And it has a very particular sort of salty taste. Not particularly nice, but if you want to check if it's amber, you gotta do what you gotta do. And then touch, wet sand when making sand castles. and I wrote my little poem. This is just the first version. Alright, so it's not very good, but that's fine. Walking in the forest, crunching pine needles, ancient castles consumed by time, like sand castles consumed by the waves. Salty seaweed air, tasting salt when checking for amber. I don't know. So this is very sort of related to the sea, which I don't really want to do again because I did one with the sea here for, I can't remember which prompt that was. But anyway, I've gotten the sea here already. So I'm actually a little bit lost for what to do for this one. I was thinking before I started the recording that maybe I would do something inspired by pine forests or just forests in general, but I'm not sure what. So I did pull out some green scraps, and I've got some other scraps as well. So I don't know. Maybe this could be used for something. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm just gonna maybe start cutting up some fabric into tree shapes, sort of a rough pine tree shape, and maybe just sort of layer them so that I end up with a pine tree forest. Maybe this one could be the ground. Let's see what scraps I've got. I haven't really got any dark greens apart from this one. I suppose it doesn't have to be dark green, it doesn't have to be exactly like it is in nature, but maybe if I just cut a bit of this, and then we'll see what we can make. I guess a pine tree is kind of like a Christmas tree, isn't it? So maybe this dark green can be the sort of base color. And then I can mix it up with the other ones. This one maybe. I quite like this edge here where the fabric was cut. I think I'm going to keep that. That adds a little bit of detail or texture. Let's see what else we got. Maybe some of this. Some fabric I over dyed at some point. think I'm just gonna cut a bunch of trees, but I don't think you really need to see me cutting them. They're just triangles. So I'll come back once I've done that, and then we'll see what we can make out of them. See you then. I have cut some roughly pine tree shaped bits of fabric now, and I've got them in sort of 3 different sizes: large, medium and small. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I'll just start by putting some small ones at the top here, which will be the background. Yeah, I'm just gonna randomly put them on there. While I was cutting these, I was wondering about how I'm going to attach these. I mean, obviously I'm going to sew them, but it's going to be a little bit awkward because there are so many little bits. So I need to figure out a system. I think it's okay that some of them have a little bit of blue in them. I think it adds a bit of contrast in between all the greens. What do you reckon? Is it starting to look like a pine forest? Maybe? Maybe it would be nice if there is a small opening so that it's not just one big lump of forest. Maybe we can have some smaller trees in front of the medium-sized trees. Right, I think that's okay. Every time I move one, 3 other trees will move. So yeah, I need to think about how I'm going to stitch this together, because obviously once I start sewing it and sort of manipulating the fabric, it's going to make all the trees move. So it may be a question of some very careful basting before I do anything else. Or maybe I'll simply take a picture of it and then glue everything in place. I don't know. Anyway, this is the start of my little forest here. And next week I'll show you the finished result. And hopefully I will like it, because right now I'm a little bit unsure about it, but I'm sure once that I get some stitching on it, it'll be fine. So I hope you've been enjoying these videos, and I hope you maybe have been inspired to make your own project. Remember, it doesn't have to, in fact it shouldn't look anything like mine. You should really think about doing your own mind maps and then maybe pulling out some ideas from that. You don't have to write this little poem thing. It's just a silly thing I thought of on the spot, so now I feel like I have to do it for everyone, every single prompt. Anyway, please like and subscribe and all that stuff. And if you know someone who you think might like this series of videos, please do share it with them. So I hope you have a great day and happy stitching.